Greetings, this is Brian Alexander, and this is my latest Trump and Academia vlog report. If you're new to this series, these videos are where I summarize what the Trump administration has been doing to higher education and how colleges and universities have responded. It's been too long since my last video on this subject, as I've been swamped with the start of the semester, teaching 3 seminars, proofing and indexing my new book, traveling for work, leading multiple virtual gigs, while quietly doing some climate change work. But the Trump administration hasn't stopped its campaign against higher education, so now I'm back with plenty to cover. In fact, there's too much to cover in this episode, so I'm going to share what I can now and follow up with more in the next. In the meantime, please like, subscribe, and share these so we can get the word out and so I can keep making these videos. Here are the latest developments since the last video as of today, October 3rd, 2025. There'll be copious links in the show notes, including a link to the playlist for all the episodes in this series. Let's begin at the federal level, and in fact, we're going to stay there for this episode. Let's start with the Library of Congress. In May, President Trump fired Shira Perlmutter from her position as Registrar of Copyrights at the Library of Congress. She sued, and now the U.S. Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit ruled that she should be reinstated in that office. Elsewhere, the Department of Justice decided not to legally protect a major grant program for Hispanic-serving institutions from lawsuits. The Higher Education Act's Title V covers more than 600 colleges and universities. More on this in a couple of minutes. That department also found that George Washington University had been, quote, in violation of federal civil rights law by acting deliberately indifferent to the hostile educational environment for Jewish, American Israeli, and Israeli students and faculty, unquote. Meanwhile, the Department of Education has been very, very busy, despite the Trump administration's avowed intent to shut it down. The United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit ruled that the department can terminate staff in its Office for Civil Rights. Inside Higher Ed reports that about half of that team is slated to be cut. The department froze $350 million in discretionary grants to minority-serving institutions and programs, citing their, quote, discriminatory, racial, and ethical quotas, unquote. The department's Office for Civil Rights then launched an investigation into alleged anti-Semitism at Haverford College. According to Acting Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights Craig Traynor, quote, like many other institutions of higher education, Haverford College is alleged to have ignored anti-Semitic harassment on its campus, contravening federal civil rights law and its own anti-discrimination policies. Jewish students, like all students, deserve to learn and thrive in an environment free from wanton hostility and intentional intimidation, unquote. The OCR also found that George Mason University violated Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 by, quote, illegally using race and other immutable characteristics in university practices and policies, including hiring and promotion, unquote. OCR then proposed actions for GMU to take so as to rectify matters, including, quote, a personal apology from GMU's president to the university community for promoting unlawful discriminatory practices in hiring, promotion, and tenure processes, unquote. There's a link to that as well as to the other stories I'm reporting on in the show notes. The department's Office of Post-Secondary Education directed colleges and universities not to have work-study students work on election and voting support, as that might constitute, quote, political activism, unquote. The Education Department also started cutting child care access means parents in school or campus grants, although there isn't a public list of affected recipients yet. The department also joined with, quote, the America First Policy Institute, Turning Point USA, Hillsdale College, and more than 40 leading national and state-based organizations, unquote, to create a new civics education project. That department also made a major funding shift, removing $350 million from Hispanic-serving institutions and minority-serving institutions, then transferring most of that money to historically black colleges and universities and tribal colleges. It's possible that the Department of Justice's decision not to defend HSIs in court enabled this. For one example of how this is playing out, Houston Public Media has a story about how Texas colleges and universities are now down $60 million. The National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators found that the Department of Education's functions have slowed down and show more problems. According to a survey they conducted, quote, federal support channels for students are breaking down, including through issues with call centers. NASFA said, further, these disruptions are hampering colleges' abilities to assist students. Unless federal service channels stabilize, the aid system risks becoming less accessible, less predictable, and less trusted by the very students it is intended to serve. Unquote. Elsewhere in the government, Homeland Security is calling on DACA recipients to self-deport. That population includes students. U.S. Customs turned away a Chinese student who was planning to study philosophy at the University of Houston. The Associated Press notes, quote, he is one of an unknown number of Chinese students with permission to enter the United States who have been sent back to China or faced intense questioning upon their arrival, drawing strong protests from Beijing and showing the uncertainty from President Donald Trump's shifting policies, unquote. Leading another government office, Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce, suggested that the federal government assume a financial stake in patents owned by universities. Elsewhere, Health and Human Services told nearly every state, the District of Columbia, and several territories that they must cease teaching gender expression and non-binary identities or else lose Personal Responsibility Education Program or PrEP funding. Elsewhere in the federal government, the National Endowment for the Humanities reorganized following major staff cuts. The Department of State ended over 6,000 international student visas in 2025, according to Fox News. State is also reviewing more than 55 million people who are in the United States with legitimate visas. Now, the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk on a university campus led to a range of reactions within higher education. Inside Higher Ed tracked 24 campus faculty and staff fired or put on leave for their public reactions to the killing. For example, Austin Peay State University fired a theater professor for his comments. Florida Atlantic University put a tenured professor on leave for sharing social media posts criticizing Kirk. East Tennessee State University did something similar to 2 instructors. Texas Tech University arrested, jailed for one night, then expelled a student for mocking Kirk's supporters. More academics have been doxxed and otherwise harassed online. To summarize, the Trump administration is continuing to go after higher education through multiple government offices and in many ways, from funding cuts to deportations and interfering in university autonomy. The Department of Education is taking the lead now, but other agencies are also active on this score. As a result, academics are feeling impacts across the nation. Legal action is blocking some Trump efforts, which is a bright spot. I hope this video summary has been of use to you. Please share your thoughts, additions, and other reactions in the comment box below. If you don't feel you can comment publicly, please reach out to me directly through the contact link at the end of today's show notes. Given the pace of events, I'll try to post these videos more frequently. This is a tough, dark time for those of us in higher education. It seems likely to get worse. I hope we can help each other out and fight. Please take care, everyone.